Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in the latest of the CBAA webinars brought to you with the wonderful assistance of our friends at the Community Media Training Organisation, cmto.org.au, if you want to find out more about building the skills that you need at your radio station. Tonight's topic, 10 creative ways to engage your station's community. Really looking forward to this session. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Webinars that we've got coming up. Another one that is similar to this one, how to use your station community engagement survey. Now, the station community engagement survey is a do-it-yourself affordable audience research program for community radio stations. So I'll go into that a bit more. If it's something that you're interested in and you haven't yet heard about it, you can just contact us here at the CBAA and we can let you know all about that one. Then on the 28th of June, how to manage your community radio station's music library. That's going to be a really great session. We've got some representatives from AMRAP who are going to be there at that one, plus people from record labels as well, I believe. And that's going to be one for presenters at the station who do music-based programs, for your music directors, for anyone who is looking at bettering the ways that they qualify and classify all of the music there at their station. Great to have AMRAP there involved as part of that. If you're not utilising that AMRAP service, get involved. I use it for the radio shows that I do, and it's really great. They're always adding new content all of the time. cbaa.org.au webinars to find out more about that one. So, who's presenting tonight's session? We have Lana Wilson, Operations Manager at Esin Media, that's Student Youth Network. Bukola Esin, who's the CEO of Waringarri Radio, and you might sort of know Bukola from her speech at last year's CBAA Community Radio Awards, as the station was the winner of Excellence in Community Participation Award, and further to that, I should also mention that Esin Media were the winners of that very same award in 2015. And also from King Island Radio, Pam Rolley and Wade Roscombe. Now, I've just heard that Wade might not be able to come to the session as he is busy conducting an interview, which is fair enough, because you've got to worry about things at your radio station before you worry about stuff like us. But it's great to have representatives from King Island Radio here as well. I had many great chats with Pam at the 2016 CBAA conference, and I'm certainly hoping that Pam shares that with me, that she had a good time as well. Oh, please, excuse me. So I might get our presenters on in that order. Lana, your microphone is now live. Do you read me? Hello, Lana. Do you read me? Hello? Okay. She did send me a message saying she was experiencing some audio difficulties. So I'll turn your mic off quickly. Bukola, we might go to you first. I've just turned your microphone on. Are you there?
Is that me? Bukola here?
You are there. Thank you very much. I'm getting the window flashing up now. You may be experiencing degraded audio quality. Bukola, if you're able to stand or talk within close proximity to your microphone, that would be very much appreciated. Okay. I'm just sending you the thing now to say, hey, are you ready to show your screen? So that window should show up in just 1 second. There we are. I'm seeing you now. So I will throw it over to you.
Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you okay. Is everyone else getting that okay? If you're experiencing any difficulties with hearing what Bukola is saying, please type something into the message box. We did have a word come up that's a little bit echoey.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's good there now. So what I'll do is I'll shut up and I will let you get busy.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on board this webinar. I hope you can all hear me properly. Well, it's been a very interesting day today. It's very important, but talking about community engagement should be out and about, doing some live broadcast today as well. So really, very interesting day. So let me tell you quickly a bit about Waringarri Radio. So Waringarri Radio It's turning 30 this year for one, and it's termed as the #1 station in the Northeast Kingdom, and it's proud to be the only local community radio in Canada. Across all channels, Waringarri Radio puts community in its heart with a local grassroots approach. Can you hear me better now, or please let me know if you can hear me well? It's not much better. Better.
Yeah, what we might get. No, sorry, it's not coming through very well at all. What I might get you to do is I'll get you to log off and log back in again if that's okay. And Pam, hopefully you're okay to talk. Sorry about this, Bukola. I'll just click you on mute. I'll let you log off and log back in again. Pam, we might have to kick off with you if that's okay. So I will just turn your microphone on. You are on now. Pam, do you read me?
I read you coming in loud and clear this end. How am I coming your way?
You are very much loud and clear now. I'm just making you the new presenter here, so hopefully that will show up with you at the moment, and everyone here in the audience is saying that they're hearing you loud and clear. So if you could click the button, there you go, your screen is up and the floor.
We just dropped out.
Oh, I was saying that your screen is up and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Danny, and hello everybody from King Island. It's been a chilly day here, but not a lot of wind. I suppose I'll give some context first about King Island. Firstly, obviously, we are an island. We are part of Tasmania, which is an island, part of Australia, which is a bigger island. King Island basically does regard itself as, it's probably King Island first, and then the others fall in line a bit later. So as a result, all of our broadcasting is quite specifically to King Islanders and her visitors. As we only have about 1,500 in population, rough guess, probably 1,000 permanent residents covering all demographics, it means that everything that we broadcast needs to be meaningful for our listeners, but it also means from a radio point of view, our listeners, our members, our presenters, our volunteers, our board, our sponsors, every component actually comes from the same pool of people with little opportunity to expand or step beyond that. So in order to survive, we have to go to some really fundamental basics. I think probably the first area, if we're looking at community engagement, is that we break it down a step further, which is all engagement has to be meaningful engagement, which means that we're actually relationship building. So it doesn't matter what the purpose or the function or the category, the topic, every engagement has to be meaningful because it's very simple. No one will listen to us and they will just flick off. Our only, I suppose, one big saving grace is that other than internet radio, our only competition on King Island is the ABC. So there's a long history of reliance on the ABC. The youth sector, which is not an enormous part of the population, traditionally they will be listening to Triple J and latest music, new releases. So historically, the small percentage of the population has always been very aware as to what's breaking within Australia. There is the classical side, which tends to be another group on the island. If we move away from that, without the commercial competition, we do have a component where we've been measuring recently what do our listeners want, what do people want to hear, and it comes through very, very strongly support of, I think, a trend that is happening across the country, which is local content, local news. There is it on all our surveys that's come through very, very strongly that is amongst the most important component. So if I look at our first area, is that we tend to operate strategically and tactically. So wherever possible, all participants in the radio, whether it be at the board level, presenters, are very, very active within non-radio community groups. We have a very broad range of active community groups, clubs and associations, and has found that, and I suppose it's quite logical, is that by having a presence in other community organisations and quite deliberately making sure that our participants within the radio are active externally, we are keeping in contact with all the various groups on the island, of knowing what's important to them. And I don't think it matters whether we've got 1,500 or whether we have 2 million. People need to know and listen to what interests them. So the first area is making sure that everybody involved within the radio. Now, we also have a process. So the tactical side would be, it might be, we construct an interview. So we've got a particular program that we're going to air. We'll have a look at what are we going to have in the content of that program. And we quite clearly, it's routine every single week, who's doing what, where, how, why, who's visiting. And in order to find out who's visiting, who's coming to the island, what are they doing, what are they saying, we actually pursue, so that wherever possible within our program, our primary program is probably the Saturday magazine, that we engage people by interview. From interview, we hopefully move that individual, they might become a regular segment, but we don't wear them out. What we're looking is that with those individuals, hopefully some will become so engaged in radio that they actually will take another step of becoming a co-host. And we make it very, very painless. So people, again, within the island are hearing from individuals that have an interest in what they're interested in. We really try and balance every week what we're talking about, so that all the sectors, as many as possible, get presented. From co-hosting, with a bit of luck, we eventually draw our hosts. And without of that, we might design a program. We very much encourage everybody on the island, if you have an idea, either tell us, or alternatively, do you want your own program? And we end up having to put in place as much support as possible. So if we move from that, the natural progression for engagement and meaningful engagement is, we want to grow, but we need to be sustainable. And so we've actively formed partnerships or alliances or alignments with other wide-reaching groups on the island. So a specific example of that is the Chamber of Commerce is very active. Most of its members obviously are the businesses of all sorts of shapes and sizes, from 1 and 2 person operations through to multi-million-dollar beef operations. We have, with the Chamber, they've got an issue the same as probably everywhere in Australia, in that, one, we have an ageing population. Many people get burnt out. Many people have done years of voluntary work or involvement in groups, and they get to the stage that maybe they want to pull back a bit. So they've got a membership, maintaining membership and increasing membership, but they've also got engagement issues. So what we did with the Commerce was, we've done a relationship where members of the Chamber renew their membership, they automatically get membership to King Island Community Radio. That means that they will benefit from maybe special offers that we may create or have. They provided us funding, so rather than direct sponsorship for the chamber, they have provided some funds which cover the fees of their membership. They can promote that as we move into the new financial year. Join us, you'll get. What we get is access to their database, to their members, where we can talk specifically, and obviously there are various directions we can go, whether it be we can talk and expand sponsorship. We do find that many of the businesses automatically have the radio going within their businesses. And so over time, we'll create new products, new benefits for them, and in turn, the chamber can actually offer something. And so from a sponsorship, for example, we've created packages which are cost effective, that pay for airtime, but we'll give the chamber time to talk about activities. So it might be in an interview process. We might do a promo that runs just maybe 30 seconds. So they get value add for their support for us. And actively, they support our activities. It moves us then to probably the next area is we find that the radio has to have a presence. So tying for the previous two is that we make sure we're visible wherever we possibly can, any community activity. So whether it be they get airtime to promote that activity, of what they're doing, whether we actually literally stand and hand out hamburgers. Not everything comes with a price attached to it at all. So we tend to merge the concepts of sponsorship, paid airtime at an economically viable level with we are prepared to support for free. That might be airtime, but it might actually be in kind. It might actually be physical. So the Festival of King Island runs each year at the end of January. Last year, we made sure that all the performers who were coming in were interviewed, their story, some of their music was played on a regular basis. So those attending the festival actually were already familiar with Australian artists who are predominantly creating original music that they probably have never heard before. So in supporting the festival, we actually gained content for ourselves, engaged the community, have put out questions to the community, and any feedback or information we get back for the festival organisers, we then turn pass on for them to weigh up in their decision making. We find that here we have to be proactive. If we were not proactive in many different areas, we simply would find that content would dry up. It is time consuming. However, we have to be on top of not only the topics. From that, we find we can be on top of measuring fairly painlessly what do King Islanders and groups want to hear, what do they want to know about. And we bring then now to the third area is social media. We don't just have a Facebook page, we work it. We use the actual primary Facebook page to make sure that anything about the radio is put out there. All of our programs are podcast because we appreciate many of our listeners cannot listen to the various programs when they're on. They might have the radio going in the background, but with the topic-based and local, I suppose, content, we know that they want to listen to that. Might be that interview. There might have been an MP who's been here. So we have actively gone out in recent times when we've had visiting MPs that many of you probably heard about our shipping issues and the proposition of seceding from Tasmania. But we've had various MPs here. The radio went in. We actually ran the question time. And then as we ran the question times, we then broadcast. We make sure that we actively work across, you can see, there's the Facebook page. As we promote each program. There is the CPod links, both that go on our website as well as the Facebook page. But we actually work outside. Our objective is to get people engaged. So yes, they can like our page, and yes, they get it coming into their feeds, and yes, some people subscribe, but we actively promote it within the closed groups of the notice boards. We have a lot of off-island listeners who, of course, cannot hear us away from the island, but they'll tap in to certain interviews that particularly interest them. And we've got actually a very big following off-island of people who have been connected to here. We also have a lot of visitors, and probably one of the biggest rewarding feedbacks we've had is that we have to engage our visitors as our tourism is going through an explosion through the golf courses. And what we've been pleasantly surprised is the amount of feedback from visitors when they leave about how much they've enjoyed the radio whilst they were here. We know that 98 or more than 98% of all radios when renter cars are returned are already tuned to King Island Radio. The renter car companies even advised, don't need to put brochures, save your money. They're always tuned to King Island Radio. We find that our listening public, it'll vary, but it's taken probably over the last 12 to 18 months to 2 years for people. It's become habit now. They're used to having the radio on, listening. We've just started our roving reporting at the football. So we've got one of the oldest AFL comps in Australia, and we're doing covering the juniors in the morning. We are then doing the score updates, and we hope to be able to evolve from that to be actually be able to have live broadcast, because come with the winter season and the footy season, the island is very connected with the football. So amongst these areas that we find that you can't, with the social media, you really do have to, we can schedule posts, you can use automated posting, free automated posting, but we really have to go outside our site into the other Facebook pages and then try and get people engaging with that commentary. Quite clearly, the more controversial ones, comments, we get a lot more of the feedback, and sometimes the conversation goes off into various directions, but we leave those comments there unless they're going to offend anybody. And so basically, I think what we have found to be in a fledgling baby station, one of the oldest of the first starting of a radio station in Australia, going back to the beginning, to then having 100 years of nothing, is that it's taken about 18 months to 2 years, but we are part of the infrastructure now. I know that at the council level, from being a concern of how it might impact some other platforms here, like the local newspaper, it's now become embraced. We find that we have to be innovative. We don't have a big team at all, and it has a lot of hours. I wish we had another dozen people. But our plans going forward, we are getting more and more people now, as they're engaged, seeing that we're legitimate, holding their hands up. They're far more willing. They are not finding it scary. We've got one of the schools from mainland Australia has their Year 9 campus here, and they have now embedded it into their curriculum. When the kids come in for their 13 weeks in Year 9, they spend a day learning how to make radio, and by the end of the day, they've actually done their own broadcast, which is then put to air the next day. And it is very exciting to see that a mainland school, part of their excitement of now coming to King Island is, oh, when you guys go, you got to do the radio. So having said that, I think it's getting out there and quite specifically working within groups, put on another committee hat, and don't just be a member of somewhere else, be active in it, and then use the radio both ways, that there's a conduit for both ways. So that's basically King Island Radio and its community engagement. So I hope something has helped someone somewhere.
Oh, Pam, thank you very much for that. I'll just bring up the slides of the things that you discussed there. Strategic and tactical, wherever possible. All participants in radio from board, including presenters, are active in other non-radio community groups at committee or similar level. Form partnerships, alliances or alignments with other wide-reaching groups, such as the King Island Community Radio Alliance with the local Chamber of Commerce. Indeed, quite a few community broadcasters are aligned with their local chambers of commerce and sort of other aspects of local council. And don't just use social media, work it. Thanks very much for that, Pam. I've just muted you now. I will get you to stay online, though, so that you're there available for the question time. And I've noticed a couple of questions trickle through. Bukola, I've just turned your microphone on. I'm praying to the deities of audio that we're getting some all right audio with you at the moment. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me properly now?
Yes, I can hear you properly, and I've just sent you the thing to say that you are the presenter. Shall I play that video of yours?
Thank you. Yeah. So talking about community engagement, thank you, Lana. Lana, that was a very good one. I really enjoyed listening to you, though I was trying to get my microphone to work.
That was Pam on that one. You were probably logged off when that happened. And also, you should get the notification saying that your screen should show up in a second. Your screen's not showing up as yet, but I'm happy to inform that the audio is fine.
Okay. I've not. Let me have a look at that and see. No, I don't have that yet. So I can still see Lana's screen.
Right, okay. It should be happening in a second. I'll just ask it to show you. Waiting. It says it's waiting to view your screen at the moment. You've got control. Have you got a window flashing up that's saying that you're the presenter?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll just change it back to me and then back to you again. But I will, if you just want to start your presentation and keep your eye out for the window to show up, the floor is yours, Bukola.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So with Waringarri Radio as community, as a community media, we are an Aboriginal community media, and Waringarri Radio is known as the #1 radio station in the Northeast Kimberley, and we are proud to be the only local community radio station in Kananara. You know, across all channels, Waringarri Radio puts community at its heart with a local grassroots approach to programming. We're a very small team here, but we have to then look at what sort of approach are we going to take to make sure that we can connect with our community. So our vision is to be the Aboriginal voice of the East Kimberley, and we've been in existence for 30 years now. We're turning 30 just in July. Now, with Waringarri Radio, we get involved in events, so local community events. Like today, for instance, we were at an outdoor broadcast for the World Tobacco Day. So those are kind of events that we participate in and do outside broadcast. And during the outside broadcast, we use the opportunity to get people on air, to talk on air, which I know that many other organizations will do as well. Okay, I can see the screen now that says show screen. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. Now, we actively get involved in community events, like I said. For example, we get involved in cultural, historical announcements and activities that affect the people of the East Kimberley. So we focus majorly. Oh, no screen. I've just accepted the screen now. Please let me know if you can see the screen.
It's showing up now, Bukola. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, okay. Stupid internet.
No worries. Yeah. So we also collaborate with other organizations. So with other community services, so that at least they can come on the radio and put their programs on, and sometimes they just have segments. So in cases where different organizations, they've got their own commitments, so we don't want to take their time too much, so we had to strategize and see how we can provide the platform that they don't have to be here physically to do their programming week in, week out, because it's quite, it could be quite engaging, and it could take a lot of time for people to get to do that. And then in the past, we found out that, well, you just find volunteers dropping out. But what we've then done is to try and get maybe like a monthly commitment, so where we then involve more organizations doing the same thing. Like, for instance, we've got the Staying Healthy in the Kimberley, which is a health program where we share the opportunity with different health organizations. So they take turns weekly and do segments, so talking about the different topics on the radio. We also use word of mouth and social media to engage with our community. So just quickly, Waringarri Radio works directly with the people of the East Kimberley, giving the voice, like we said, and just like I said, with the outdoor broadcast, and we showcase our rich culture, and we at the same time try to connect with the general population, because at the end of the day, people usually think that in the past, because we had a survey done recently in 2014 and another one in 2016. So we were trying to find out what was the taste of the community, what sort of things would they like to listen to on the radio. And then, we found that people just thought, many people thought, oh, well, it is an Aboriginal community radio, and it is majorly just for Aboriginal people. And we had to kind of, and at that point, we were losing out on sponsorship, local sponsorship, and business involvement. So we had to then, devise another strategy to see how we can get more get the businesses back online, because they used to be very involved. So it's about actually making it open. We are opening the culture of the community, opening it out to the community, opening the culture of the Aboriginal community out to the general public. So we do live stream now. We have been involved in audio live stream for a while, since 2013, but now we've included visual live stream. So it is a new technology. Talking about innovation, this is the new technology that we find out that we are the only ones that are using this software. It's called Avra. So it is a new innovation for us. We at the moment we're testing it, and it's going to be launched on the 6th of July, when is the celebration of the 30th anniversary. So with Avra, we're able to then give not just our local community the opportunity to see the presenters and their guests in the studio, but also for nationally, people can see. Internationally, people can also see into our studios. So that gives, it provides it provides the platform for businesses, investors that want to come into the East Kimberley to be able to go onto our website and then be able to access the stories that we have within the East Kimberley that we share. So with Avra, when you're in the studio, the presenter can talk to the guest physically there, and if the guest is not available to come into the studio, they can still connect to the guest wherever the person is in the world. So it doesn't matter whether it is Australia or outside Australia. With the live visual stream, we're able to do that through Facebook, and we're able to do that on our website. At the moment, we're still building. We're finalizing our new website, which will be also launched in July. So if you're trying to look at our website now, you still find the old website there, because we've not published the new website yet. But after July the 6th, you'll definitely be able to see what we have cooking. Then talking about community collaboration, we have different segments with the Language Center. So with the Language Center, they talk about local language, which is the Mirong language. And with the Mirong language, we have on the radio talk about the word of the week. So we take a word and they do a story around, like just a 3-minute story around that word of the week, and that is put on the radio, it's aired for the whole week. So with that one, we have a bank of Meriwong language of the week. So what we then doing is, okay, we have the opportunity of visually representing the Meriwong language now. So what we then doing now is to take each word of the week, and with the script that we already have produced, we're then translating that into a visual, giving it a visual representation. So for tourists that come in, they want to see. Many times we've had tourists come in, ask about music, they ask about the languages and all that. So this is an opportunity for them to be able to access this, and they'll be able to go on the website and see.
Bukola, sorry to interrupt. It just seems that we're experiencing a bit of difficulty with your audio there at the moment. We're getting some crazy phasing noise happening. And now you're doing a robot voice, which is awesomely cool. Oh, there we are. You're back again. Can I get a check 1, 2 from you, Bukola?
Yes, check 1, 2. Is that all right now? Is that all right now? Is it clear now?
Sorry, yes, that is a bit better now. I will let you keep going.
Okay. So then we worked a lot with the kids. So we have the East Kimberley Kids program, where we involve children from age 8 to 16. So we give them work experience. After working here, we give them the opportunity to actually have actual jobs at the radio. So a training platform for them to stay and then decide on their future endeavors. Some of them end up being going for because we had a lady who was then gone to medical school. Then we had another one who's gone for media, which kept going with a media course. So we give opportunity to young schoolies. After they get their work experience, they then get the opportunity to work here. Then for those who are still in school, we work with schools, we work with local Aboriginal organizations working directly with children, like the Save the Children, like a YES program. We work with them to bring the kids in, not just to come and tour the radio. Some of them come and tour the radio, and then they have the opportunity to go on the radio. When we're going for outdoor events, we encourage the kids to come along with us. So we use that opportunity to train them, to give them on-the-job training on how to handle recorders. So before going outdoors, we go to their schools, have a chat with them, and then get them, to get that confidence. And then on the day, we give them a few training on how to handle the recorders and the little video cameras. They could use iPads and stuff to record. So we've had kids doing that, and the kids have done really well. Even on the radio, so they work in different groups. So, and it doesn't, there's no discrimination of whether a child can catch up quickly or not, because the others will pick up, the one who's a little bit slower in getting it. So they don't feel discriminated at all, against at all. So they take lead, they learn leadership, they learn to work in team, they learn to discuss too, because some of them, they just pick on topics and then they discuss around it. So they learn a lot of things, doing that. And then we give them the opportunity to choose what they want to do as well. So then word of mouth, it is a very big one for us. A large part of Waringarri Radio is an engaged indigenous listenership. So 6WR plays a vital role in updating and connecting the local people, often important for those in low socioeconomic positions. So word of mouth work really greatly. So the more we are able to, to communicate with the locals, then the better, because at the end of the day, they will spread the news, they will spread it, and then people will come and get involved. It doesn't matter with the age, even with the kids. You tell a child now, You say, do you want to get involved in this? And the child says yes, because they are finding it very interesting, and the person will go ahead and bring their own kids. So we use these children to bring other kids along. So it's not just about us dictating what they have to do, but we give them the opportunity to be able to be creative. So, and the fact that we give them the opportunity to be creative, you know, they do things better. So we had, our word of mouth says that 78% of Aboriginal listeners agree that 6WR is their overall preferred station. That was from the 2014 survey that we did, so the general survey that we did. So the community research key insights was that Aboriginal listeners are more likely to listen to Waringarri Radio and recommend the station. Then that we should address the community perception of the 6WR as an Aboriginal only station, and that's what's led to our next 3 years strategic plan to ensure that we engage more, not just with the Aboriginal community, but with the general residents. So 83 of our community listeners, community, they listen to Waringarri Radio. 76 of them are aware of 6WR. 38% of the community claim that 6WR is their preferred station, and 54% of our community would recommend us. So, so that gives us a leeway. And the fact that we broadcast on the AMs, so we are on the AM and then rebroadcast on the FM station. So we are FM channels. So we have 4 transmission sites, FM transmission sites, and we send the signal from our main studio in Kananara. We send that to Alice Springs, to Impada, and Impada sends the signal back to the remote areas. So we have, like I said, high involvement of the younger audience. So we use social media. We use Facebook. We started Facebook in 2015, and we have 824 followers at the moment, and we're building it. Just like we're saying, we should have to work it, and so that's what we're doing now to make sure that we're working our Facebook page, social media pages, not just Facebook, social media pages. So we're joining as many social media pages that would support us, and which we know that more people, local people, would be on, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is to promote the East Kimberley. So that's why you won't find us taking stories majorly stressing, not that we're not taking stories, but we're promoting more of the East Kimberley stories. We're using the people in the East Kimberley to get involved, so they are the ones. So all the faces you're seeing on my screen, they are all from here, and they've all been involved in one way or the other, whether training, whether production, in any way they've been involved. So we do updates, we do community service announcements. When we have live, we do live visuals and all that, and we get people to comment. And we use Instagram as well. We've just joined Instagram, so we're still working on that, and with Pinterest as well. And we have SoundCloud, so our interviews we put on SoundCloud as well, and we, at least for database, so that can be retrieved at any time. And then yeah, we're just planning to start the Snapchat, because we're seeing that Snapchat looks like an interesting one to do, things to do to make it more interesting. And then talking about, quickly before I go ahead, talking about community engagement, we're working with our local East Kimberley job pathways, so our job providers to help us get work experience people with them, so that they can come along and then just learn. Those who are working on the door, they come in and then they just learn broadcasting. So that helps us, because we are few in number working here. So at the end of the day, we can't do all this, they are big tasks. We can't do them by ourselves. So that's why we need the support of the general public. So in these cases, we just use people that are available, volunteers, to be involved. So quickly, I'll play our show reel. Danny, if you can please play the show reel, and you have an overview.
Okay, I'll just mute you there for a second so we don't get any bleed. Ah, excellent. Hopefully people saw the audio or heard the audio for that rather. That's absolutely fantastic, that video. Oh, you didn't hear the audio. All right. I was working during my test earlier, but obviously didn't get it working then. What I will do is I will put the link for that into the instant message box, and so people can check that one out. Oh, sorry, we had a couple of people saying no video or audio. Apologies for that one. I thought I had that worked out. Apparently I did not. Bukola, what a wonderful presentation. We are running short on time, so I'm going to hand it over to Lana Wilson. Lana, are you there?
I am. Can everyone hear me now?
We can indeed hear you, and I'm just going to send you the thing to make you the presenter. Lana is, of course, from Esin in Melbourne. Hopefully the thing's showing up at the moment saying that you are the presenter.
Yes, it is. Here we go. Cool. All right, great. What a relief that it's all working before. I had a minor panic attack when the tech wasn't working, and of course it chooses not to work 3 minutes before the webinar starts. That's community broadcasting for you though, hey.
That's exactly right.
So I was just going to quickly, I haven't prepared a lovely presentation like Pam and Bukola. Unfortunately, we've been really flat out here this week. I was going to bring up our website, which hopefully you can all see, plus our strategic plan. And I am a little bit hesitant to like move between them and things like that, just because I'm scared that the computer's going to crap itself again. So a little bit, I guess, quickly about myself, if everyone's not aware. My name is Lana, and I am the operations manager here at Esin Media in Melbourne. We are a community broadcaster for young people aged 12 to 25 years old. So we like to passionately call ourselves the youth. That's spelled Y-O-O-S and then an apostrophe. I have been involved in the sector for just over 7 years, a mix of volunteering and working as a staff member. I'm going to talk really quickly about 3 different strategies that I have found that I've found really useful in my work at Esin and working with young people. Just for the record, I am 26 years old, so I am considered an old person in Esin terms. Essentially within the organisation, we're exclusively for 12 to 25-year-olds. So as soon as you turn 26, you have this thing, you have a Esin death, and you essentially Esin die. So I have essentially Esin died, but I'm still allowed to work here, which is great. Anyway, so working with the youth and working with young people, these are the strategies that I have found very useful. Both in my previous role as a membership and admin coordinator from June 2014 to July last year, and within the last 12 months in my current role as operations manager. So I won't give any more detail about our organisation because that's something you can jump right on the website and read all about if you go and read all those little fun tabs along here. So strategy, if you want to involve young people in your station and within your communities, is finding out who your influencers are and really harnessing them to help spread the message of engagement. When I was working as a membership and admin coordinator, a massive task that I had was to recruit, manage and mentor Esin's leadership team. That's essentially a group of 40 to 50 highly engaged volunteers who are essentially interviewed and handpicked to oversee and run all of our programs and departments, essentially all of the creative and honest stuff. And from a staff perspective, we do all the boring office work. Nothing as exciting as going on air, unfortunately. I think whether a station is big or small, one of the best things you can do from a strategic level is tap into that influencing perspective. Naturally, as humans, when placed in a new environment, you know, within the first few minutes, if you kind of visualize if you're at a party or a dinner networking or whatever it may be, you might even be at the CBAA Conference Awards dinner. We tend to be drawn to friendly, confident and approachable personalities. And you know, these might be the people that come up and introduce themselves first. They're usually very confident, very approachable, and they're the ones that will help you solve a problem, or if you have a question, they'll be the first to go, yep, I know the answer. Those are the best people to be your influencers. It's a matter of trying to identify that within the group that you have, of stepping back and really carefully assessing the regular personalities who spend time at your station. So people who are there week in, week out, or the people who, yeah, like they're the ones that are going to greet the new volunteers, or they put their hand up to train other people. I do know that not everyone is lucky enough to have regular people, and certainly not on the scale that we are here at Esin in Melbourne. But I'm sure that the existence of the stations means that somewhere along the line there has been those people. So tap into those people. They're usually really passionate, and they actually never quite realise it, but it is a really privileged position to be in if they can be that influencer, and they can help you harness in delivering those communications and spreading that vision. For example, here at Esin, we really recognise the importance of social events and opportunities in developing and moulding our internal culture. From a staff point of view, we try to push that because we see the long-term benefits of having a really strong social fabric. Over the years that I've been working as a staff member at Esin, we've trialled a whole heap of different methods and styles of having social gatherings here at our offices in Melbourne. We've had everything from BYO, play the baked goods, to catering our annual end of year parties with pizza, and basically any other delicious young junk foods. But of course, nothing can involve alcohol or drugs or anything like that, because we're a drug and alcohol free zone. So the challenge is usually involving some sort of junk food on that. And from that, I've actually learnt that the turnouts of people attending are usually much higher when invitations are spread by the volunteers themselves and not necessarily by the staff. Why that is, I have no idea. It's really bizarre. It's always remained a little bit of a mystery. I think that would probably be certainly prevalent in other stations, but even though here at Esin we're all in really similar age groups, the pool doesn't work. The only way that we can find that we can get a really solid turnout to these social events, which in turn helps build our social fabric, is to finding out who those influencers are within our culture at that time, within that month or within that bracket of 6 months, whatever it might be, and getting them to help communicate that vision. So if we have a group of volunteers who are fresh out of our radio training course, it's a matter of going, hey, you know, it'd be really great to get, you know, these bunch of new volleys along. They're not going to know anyone at this event. It's going to be really intimidating for them to walk into our workstation where we are downstairs. We have a little like section called the lounge. It's going to be really intimidating for a young person who's fresh into the organisation to walk in. So if you could, you know, tap them on the shoulder and just go, hey, can you come along? You're going to have so much fun. I'll be there. I'll introduce you to some other people. Those are usually the people that are your influencers, and they can be really strong in helping build up the organisation and build up that culture. So in summary of that, identify your influencers, support them, empower them, and they'll support the station in return. I'm going to really quickly jump into my next strategy because I know that we're getting really close on time, so I'm sorry about that. Next thing I really wanted to talk about, in probably one of the most important ones, is find the incentive that pulls people, especially for a young person point of view, and promote it. There are normally two groups of people within our sector who come and volunteer, the ones that want to give back to the community and are quite content in receiving those warm, fuzzy feelings, and also the people who have a little bit of time on their hands, who are quite routine in what they do. There's also the group where they want to give back to the community in a meaningful way. They want to do good, but they want to gain something back to themselves in the process. And I would almost say that 90% of the time, that's where young people fall. They want to get something back for themselves. And it's really naive, I think, to think that young people will volunteer for long periods of time or stick around just for the good of it alone. Young people need meaning, and they need to be able to see the tangible benefits in giving their time and their skills to the station. On that note, really quickly, I want to stress that I honestly don't think that comes from a place of selfishness or something that can be labeled as a pesky Gen Y or millennial thing. It's just something that comes from the fact that it's really bloody hard being a young person today. You can go off and Google that for a whole host of reasons with an open mind after this webinar. But yeah, employment opportunities are so scarce and the world is changing so rapidly, and everyone, regardless of their age bracket, is really strapped for time. But at the end of the day, young people need to take opportunities to develop their skills and increase their chances of employment and careers down the track. So they need to know how they're going to be spending their time meaningfully. From a station management or station staffing perspective, how you find that pool and identify how you can bring those young people in is very much essentially going, what do we need as a station that we can offer, that we need done, that we can deliver and help develop the young person's skill set. It might be handing over the reins of your station's social media management pages. I know Bukola had mentioned just before that they're thinking about getting involved in Snapchat. That is a perfect opportunity for a young person to completely just handle all of that for them, and they're going to get some great results because young people, we know social media. For senior members of the stations willing to dedicate their time, maybe it's worth giving young people insight into the business management side of operations and trying to foster those future skills as leaders in a really watered down, easy to understand way. Or finally, and this is probably going to be the biggest and maybe the most controversial thing I say all night, but looking at the broadcast grid and actively creating time slots, and I use that with a plural, for young people to come in and broadcast. We go to conference and we speak to young people, or we speak to young people regionally, rurally, interstate, and they really want to get on air. They want to get on and create media, but very few people are willing to give up their on-air time slots or even take a break, just a 6-month break from the time slots that they have within the stations to enable young people to have that opportunity to get on air for a couple of hours each week. It doesn't need to be consuming from a staff or management point of view. It just needs to be accessible and engaging, and whatever it is, it really needs to have trust and the opportunity to stuff up, make mistakes, and then learn from it. At SIN, our core is to give young people opportunities. We try really hard to be diverse in what we can do in terms of our offerings, and we're very much in the mindset of chucking young people in the deep end, seeing what they do. If they stuff up and make a mistake, hey, it's all good. That's how you learn. So from a tangible big picture point of view, it means that even if just one young person has a truly meaningful experience within your station, they're going to talk favorably about it to their friends, their classmates, their acquaintances, whoever's kind of in their sphere of contacts. And we all know that the best way for this sector to flourish is essentially by word of mouth. So it might take a little bit of time and energy, it might take a little bit of strategy and stepping back and evaluating, but if you identify that pool and find out what the station can offer young people, what you're going to get out of that young person's involvement is going to be completely priceless. It's right on 7:30. Danny, did you want me to stop there? Do you want me to go on to my final point? Where are we at? Please
go on to your final point. It'd be a shame to get you this far and not have your final point.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll go nice and quickly because I'm aware there's some sort of sporting game in New South Wales that's going to happen.
There is indeed.
All right, and so my final strategy, which I wanted to quickly talk about, is, again, this is a problem that I'm sure we've all experienced, is what to do when there's little to no engagement from volunteer bases. It's something that I learned really quickly when I started working at SIN, and it's something that I still have to deal with now, and it's bloody frustrating. Sometimes no one just wants to put their hand up and help, and you're left feeling stressed and frazzled, and you've got a million other things to do. But I did realize that there is a tool of getting around that, and that is simply to rattle the cage and tap into that passion and use your passion. So, for example, at the moment, I'm currently overseeing one of the goals on Esin's strategic plan, which I will quickly click on over here for you to have a look at. All of the details of our strategic plan are on our website, or if you shoot me an email after the webinar, I'm happy to send you a copy. But essentially, if you can see goal B, we are aiming to improve our technical infrastructure, and that's something that I'm going to go, well, I'm in the middle of overseeing. To do that, we have been undertaking monthly surveys of our volunteers' satisfaction levels in regard to the tech setup we have here at our offices and in our studios. We call them tech satisfaction surveys. It's nice and simple. It's a really easy 3-question survey that's anonymous. I've made it really easy in terms of making it visually colourful, so at least it's fun to fill out. But despite all of that kind of thinking and work and trying to make it as watered down and quick in a 2-minute block to fill it out, people just aren't filling them out. And my initial approach to get around that, excuse me, was to use that influencer strategy that I mentioned just before, tapping into individuals who have that cultural pull and helping them spread the word about the importance of surveys, why we need them, and why we want our volunteers to share our opinions with us. But that hasn't worked. So yeah, sometimes you need to get down and dirty and rattle the cages and channel your stresses and frustrations into a passionate but positive plea. It's not a strategy that I'd recommend using all the time, because if it becomes too frequent a tool, it will backfire and it will lose its effectiveness over time. And then eventually I'm going to take you seriously, which you don't want. But when it is really necessary to get a task done, or to get someone helping out with, you know, that OB on the weekend, or whatever it may be that your organisation needs, and no one else on staff or volunteer basis is willing to help, it's a matter of not being afraid to ask for help, swallowing your pride, doing what you have to do to tap back into your own passion for the station and the sector, remembering while you're here, while you're working, while you're volunteering, and using that to propel a positive and passionate plea and essentially a call for action. It works best, in my experience, on a group of people, whether it be email or a Facebook post if you have like an internal group. We have an internal Facebook group, I think, like a lot of stations do now. And it also works on individuals as well. So it kind of creates that understanding. If they see a post where I'm going, please guys, I really need your help in filling out the survey. I've only got 10 responses, and the board are going to be, you know, wondering why we've only got 10 responses to this survey when we have 500 volunteers in our database. What's going on? I've lost my train of thought. It really works, yeah, just to kind of actually put some emotion into it, some positive emotion. When approaching a volunteer individually, as long as you're asking the who, the what, the why, the how, and explaining, can you help me with this in a really respectful, empathetic manner, you're going to get action from them. So that's something I've also found effective in regard to getting those survey respondent numbers up. It's a bit of a work in progress month to month, but those are the 3 biggest tools that I have kind of developed and I have learned from in my time working at in the sector, and I hopefully that helped you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Lana. Just a quick note to Lana, Bukola and Pam, you are all live on your microphones at the moment, because we've got a couple of questions that I'll try and get through really quickly. Just to recap everyone's points there, Pam, because it is about 10 ways to engage with your community. Pam had strategic and tactical. Whenever possible, all participants in radio from board, including presenters, are active in other non-radio community groups, form partnerships and alliances with other wide-reaching groups. Their relationship with the Chamber of Commerce is an example. And don't just use social media, work it. Bukola talked about word of mouth, which is pretty much the most important strategy anyone can come up with to engage with their community, station involvement at community events, and combining resources with other local service providers to develop new projects. and the lovely Lana fishing off there with the importance of discovering your influences, finding the incentive that pulls people and promoting it, and what to do when there is little to no engagement from volunteer bases. That's the case where you've got to rattle the cage. Thank you so much to all of our presenters here this evening. I'm sorry to everyone about the technical difficulties. I've just got a couple of questions for you. Rowena McGeoch from 2RRR in Sydney asked, how do you work out which programs and or topics are of interest to your community in order to cater to them? Do any of three of our presenters want to have a quick crack at that one? That question again, how do you work out which programs and or topics are of interest to your community in order to cater to them?
Well, from Lana here, from Sin's point of view, essentially if that person has come to our radio managers and they've gone, hey, this is a thing I'm really interested in, whether it be the entertainment side of AFL footy, or whether it's the pop, like the history of pop music or something like that. That's the thing. They've come and they've made it clear that this is an interest that they have. So it's naive to think then that person is going to be alone in their thinking. It might be worth going, well, hey, if this person's really interested in it, they've actually taken the time to come and approach us in it. Shortly, it might be relevant to someone else in our listenership.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. We've got people rushing to get out of here, so I might just have to wind it up. Bukola, Lana and Pam, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Absolutely wonderful.
Pleasure. Thanks for asking. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny.
No worries. And
you're welcome.
Thanks.
3 presenters with 3 ideas each. That means we're 1 idea short, and that is an idea that is soon to be instituted by the CBAA. We're in the early stages of it at the moment. What we're doing right now is we're having casual get-togethers with our members, that being you, the lovely community broadcasting stations, to come in, have a chat, talk best practice, and also codes of practice. We're trying to come up with a dynamic name for it, but to be determined. So if you want to be part of that, we're doing it face-to-face at the moment, and we're also going to do it, I guess, online would be our next step. Get at me, dchifley@cbaa.org.au. We will follow up with all of our attendees here at this evening's webinar and send them all of the resources and everything that we have. On behalf of my colleagues at the CMTO and my colleagues at the CBAA, thanks once again to Lana, Bukola and Pam for being involved here in the webinar this evening. Don't forget, 14th of June, how to use your station community engagement survey results. 28th of June, how to manage your community radio station's library. If anyone has any questions in regards to either of those topics, particularly the station community engagement survey, get in touch with us here at the CBAA. We'd be more than happy to help you out. And with that, I bid you all adieu. Go the Blues.